Okay, I want to say hello everybody and welcome to another video with me, Wushu Richard or Richard Clark, my real name. And in this video we're going to be looking at some very cool features of my favorite art software, which I always use for my art and my animation. And this software is called Firealpaca, and it's free to download, or at least it has always been free, and they're saying I think it's always going to be free. I advise, excuse me, I advise anyone who's into art, especially digital art, to get this free software. Download it and install it. It's pretty lightweight and it works so well. You can use it for drawing, painting, okay? You can use it for animation, and you can use it for making comics, and it's just packed with features, and they keep adding new features. I know people that use this and they really like it. I found that there are not so many, or there haven't been so many in the last couple of years. There have not been a lot of tutorial videos on this software. Now, I have shown you it in the past, and I've also explained in the past that this software is not super powerful like Photoshop and things like that, but it depends how you use it. To me, it works really well. It doesn't slow down your computer. It's lightweight, it's fast, it's packed with tools for what you need. Animation, you know, basically you can do some basic good frame animation with onion skins. It's packed with rulers and all kinds of guides and stuff like that. You can do comics, and you can install and create your own brushes too, you know. Like I say, it's not as powerful as Photoshop and things like that, but in some ways, I mean, me personally, I prefer to use this most of the time. It works better on my computer, that's one thing. You know, maybe you've got a super powerful high-end computer or whatever, and yeah, whatever. But I'm just saying that for me, this is great. You know, it's kind of like, with me, it's like, you know, like a lot of people, like for 3D, you know, like 3D art and design, some people love to use the highly popular software called Blender, which is a 3D modeling program, and people use it to make games and stuff like that. There's another piece of software called Blender, but that is like really powerful, but it's quite complicated to learn. But if you do master it, then you know you'll be great at creating stuff. But there are lots of people who still prefer to stick with SketchUp, which is another 3D program called SketchUp, and you can get that free too. The basic version, I believe it's called SketchUp Make. So you know, it's that kind of thing. It depends on choice, you know, and what you want to do. But I'm just going to introduce this software here now, basically, and just take you through a few of the basic tools in this software, Firealpaca. Okay, so without further ado, I did promise that I was going to make a series on this, or I did say I was thinking about it, and this is going to be the series on Firealpaca. I'm going to be making a lot of art videos in general, just showing the way I create my own art and animation and stuff. I don't regard myself as the best artist or whatever, but I am going to take you through a few things here in art videos, and also, as I say, in this series now, which is going to be covering this software, Firealpaca. I really advise people to look into this, because you'll find a gem, you know, a bag of good stuff. That's what I'm going to say. This is really good. Okay. When you first open up Firealpaca, once you've downloaded it and installed it and everything, you're going to see this thing come up on the screen. Okay. What you want to do is you want to, at the top here, it's just got advertisements basically for certain things. This thing here says grab the latest version. Okay, that's if you want to download the latest version from their website. You can go there and do that. Okay, but anyway, usually you don't need this, you don't want this, and there may actually be an option in here. I don't regard myself as an absolute master, like knowing all the tricks in this software, but I do know how to use it a lot. Okay, a lot of the stuff. So what I'm saying is that there may be an option in here where you can choose where this doesn't always come up, but I think this does always seem to come up. Okay, so when this comes on, just click it off. Click on the cross, the X in the corner, and just turn that off. Now you're going to have a blank screen. This is not the canvas where you draw, okay? This is not the canvas. So what you want to do is you want to go to File and then go to New, as usual. File, New. Then it's going to give you a choice of what kind of new project you want to create. A standard project where you have a selection of preset page sizes here, like, or canvas sizes, or you can set one yourself, a new one, and you can save presets too. Or you can go to comic, which is great if you want to create comic pages. This is very, very useful. But we're not going to click on comic for now. Usually I would just go with the professional. It says here professional, standard, professional here. You can click on this thing at the bottom for spread or double. It's like a double cover page. It's like 2 pages side by side if you want to do a 2-page or cover for a comic. But you know, if you want to do that, do that. If you want to work on a single comic page, just leave that unticked, and I would keep it as professional. There are different settings here, and just click on OK. But we're not going to do that today. We're just going to start the basic standard, normal, just basic art, you know, setup for a canvas. Okay, so imagining you've got the paper, I'm going to click on OK, okay, and it's already set to a size which I like. This is just a size that I've got, one of my presets here. We've got 2,965 pixels wide by 1,599 pixels tall. Doesn't really matter too much. We're going by pixels. 350 dpi. We're not going to talk about that too much. That's basically quality and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to click on OK. We're ready. Click on OK. Now we're ready to go, right? Now I've got my setup here, especially for this basic canvas, to be transparent. Okay, for the first layer, being the bottom layer. Now in art software, in digital art software, and I'll try to take you through art processes and methods of you know, digital art creation throughout this series, as well as looking at this software as it is. I'm also going to show you and try and explain some things to people that may be new to art also, okay, in digital art. In digital art, we have a lot of benefits over traditional art, but I do love both, okay? They both have their good and bad points. In digital art, you can work with, first of all, you've got all of your tools in the computer, all your pens, your brushes, everything, and you're not going to create a mess everywhere or clutter everywhere. You can click undo if you make a mistake, you can have different layers, you can store your files nice and tidily. It's got a lot of good features. You're packed full of tons of different brushes and ways you can edit those, and effects, and cutting and pasting pieces around and moving things around. There's so many cool tricks and tools in digital art. That's why I like to do it, okay? Now, I want to just say also, okay, the layers is one of the most best things about, one of the most amazing things here, okay? I'm just dragging this across to the side just to show you here. We have a layer 1. Now, I can create layers, meaning for example, if I was to take a pen and I was to draw something, let's say draw a background with maybe this is a house, okay, it doesn't look very good, I know, a house, okay, a shadow of a house, with a yellow sunshine, and now I want to draw something in the foreground, okay, let's do something different, let's have a red sunrise. Okay, well look, I can go onto another layer. I can create another layer by clicking over here on the right where it says new layer, create new layer. You can have folders or just layers. You can rearrange the order, you can copy and paste layers, you can do a lot of cool stuff, but you can work on different layers. So with layers, okay, basically layers, when you're drawing and when you're doing your art, okay, when you're doing your art on different layers in digital software, what it means is you're not drawing on one thing, one layer. Like if I were to draw a sun here, and I say, oh my god, that's wrong, yeah? Well, we want to have the sun behind, right? So, but how are we going to do that? If I start to erase part of the picture with an eraser, it's going to erase everything. So what we do is we work on different layers. I can go on to another layer by clicking over here on the right here, this little thing, and I can do my sunshine, my my sunset, and now it's in front. Okay, I can reposition it by going down here to the positioning tool, this one, the position or the transform tool. Transform means to move an object in space, okay, in any way, move or turn or whatever, okay, or resize and manipulate the position and everything of an object, be it in 2D or 3D. And just moving it around, so I can move this around, and it's separate, you see, it's separate to the black picture behind it. This is in front, okay. If I want to move this behind, I just simply go over here and I drag this layer down so it's behind that now, and I can move that into whatever position I want. If I'm not happy with the size, there are different ways that I can do that. Change the size. I can click over here by choosing the selection tool, or there are various different selection tools. I'm not going to cover that right now. We'll cover that in another video, maybe in more detail, but we're just going to basically do this here. If I click on select, I can go down under select here at the top, go down to transform. We also have mesh transform, which is slightly different, but we're going to go to transform, and then from here it selects wherever you have painted anything on this particular layer. Now on this particular layer all we have is a red sunshine, so it's selected that. So making sure that's the only thing on this layer, obviously. Now from there I can click a corner and hold, left click and hold, and I can resize it, making something larger or smaller as I'm moving my mouse here, holding the left mouse button down still. You'll notice that you can change the size. I can make it really big, I can make it really small. Going back to the middle now, moving to the middle, letting go of the left mouse button and then re-clicking in the middle, holding, and then moving around. I can do different things, you see, I can move it around. I can even stretch by clicking on things like this, like the other points here that you see around the thing. And I can turn, if I click outside and fairly near to the thing and just turn, I can turn this, whatever object it may be, I can turn around too. Okay, once I'm happy with this, okay, remember, once you're happy with your position and your size, okay, don't forget also size. Okay, when you have something big, it can also mean that the thing is closer to you. It looks like it is. And if it's further away, usually things seem smaller in relation to perspective, okay? Things that are close to you appear larger, things that are further away appear smaller. Now, once you're happy with your position though, you can go down and click on OK. And you must do that, because if you don't, it will reset the position. Remembering to do this, we simply go to select and go down. Once you're on the right layer, of course, once you make sure from the layers here, make sure you're working, get a habit of looking at which layer you're working on. You do not want to spend a long time drawing, painting, or erasing, or editing anything, and find that everything's on the wrong layer, or you're destroying your art as you go, you know. For example, if I were to spend a long time drawing this house here, and then if I was to do something on another layer, but it was wrong, if it was on the right layer, if it was on the same layer, then maybe I'll destroy my artwork. Hours and hours of artwork. And even if you go to edit, undo, over and over again, or the shortcut for that is holding Control on the keyboard and pressing Z or Z, right? And that will undo some steps you've made, but this will not always work. Now let's go to our house, remembering that the house here is closest to us, okay, in terms of perspective from this 2D image that we are envisioning in 3D in our minds, like a 3D world. I can simply make sure that remembering that the things closest to us, okay, in the layers section on the right here, these layers, okay, yeah, the layers on top will be the layers that are closest to us in perspective. So the sun is below the house, and in the perspective, in the picture here on the canvas, the sun is actually further back, it means, okay. And it's actually not. We're working in a 2D space. It's not actually 3D, but we're just working with the layers in this way, as in what's on top of what. Like we're looking down on this paper and we're looking, and there's like different layers, you know. And then also the sizing. Don't forget, like changing the size can sometimes show that something's further away or closer to us if it's larger. Now, let's click on this. Let's fix this house up a little bit. I think we're going to make this house here. We're going to select. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the house, go to select, go down to transform, and now we're going to drag the corner out till it's closer, and we're going to move it to the side by clicking the middle now, okay, and holding. Now we're going to click OK. Now the sky is still a transparent. We don't have anything for the sky yet, so we need to create another layer. Let's go over here to the right and go down to this little empty sheet of paper thing here and click New Layer, which is going to be on top of everything, which is useless if we click on the pen tool here at the top, the pen here, okay, the pen here. And if we choose a color by clicking over here where the colors are, if I start painting, uh-oh, it's wrong, yeah? Yeah, we're on another layer, but the layer is in the wrong place. We need to move this layer, so let's go over here and move that layer down. Okay, it's behind the house, but it's still on top of the sun. Let's move it down again. Okay, now it's right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue painting. And, you know, it's okay, but there's a problem, you know. We can't see everything because everything's covering everything. So when you go over to these layers here on the right, what you'll see, okay, and you can drag this across, don't worry, on the line here. We can turn on or off the visibility of a layer by clicking on these little points, like this, you see. Where's the house gone? I'll click this little point again and you'll see, there it is, okay. How about the sun now? Here and here, I can click the little point, okay. So I can turn these off for a moment and then make sure that we're highlighting the right, we've clicked on the right layer here, which is the far back layer, which is the bottommost layer, and we're going to continue painting in with a blue. Now that would take some time to actually paint that totally blue, right? So let's undo that by holding Control on the keyboard and pressing Z or Z. The alternative is going to Edit at the top and then clicking Undo. But we're going to press Z, 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 whatever, okay? And yeah, now what we're going to do is, okay, we're going to make sure we've got the, so we're going to make sure that the sky layer is below. You can actually rename the layers also, by the way. You can double click on a layer over here and then it will come up with this information box and you can simply go in and type sky or whatever you want. You can also change different things. Okay, I'm going to click OK. So now that's titled sky. This one we can call sun and this one we can call house. Okay, just to be quick. Okay, it's looking good. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're clicking on the right layer now, making sure that this layer is visible by clicking the point also, making sure that's visible. If you're not seeing anything on your screen when you're painting, that's probably why. It won't even let you paint actually. So let's make sure we click the visibility on and then go down here on the tools. If you look on your left, this is my own setup that I've got here, but you've got the colors, you've got your brush, you've got your pens at the bottom and all of these tools on the left plus rulers up the top. We've got so many effects and inbuilt things. It's really a good software. If you go down here, currently we're using the pen. Let's have a little brief look at some of these tools. The first one is basically the pen, okay, and or the brush tool, okay. It's called a brush, and we use different types of brush like this. We can choose different kinds of brushes, okay. I can choose different kinds of shapes, you see, like this, okay, and we can change different colors by going to the color thing over here, color wheel, and choosing different colors. So again, holding Control on the keyboard and pressing Z or Z a few times, you can get back to where you were and erase those. Clicking on the basic pen now. So we've got this basic pen for a brush, and this here is the size of the head for that. Okay, so we're going to choose blue. This is pretty thick. I can make this smaller, a thinner brush by doing this, and there are keyboard shortcuts for this too. But we won't cover all of the shortcuts today. Okay, so you can change the brush size by by adjusting this bar, and you can also adjust the a thing called opacity. Let me show you what that is. Right now we're on full, the bottom bar here is 100% opacity, which means viewability. Transparency, it's not transparent, okay? We can't see what's behind it. I'll show you what that means by moving this up now, moving the layer above, okay? So let me show you layer, okay? For example, like this, the blue, okay, we can't see through it. But if I adjust the bar to be lower now, like let's say 50%, around 50, and then paint, now you can see it's revealing something behind that, okay? And if I press again, let go, and then press again, now it gives more and more and more and more and more, okay, as you go. You can have that very low in the beginning, and this is how you get different kinds of shading, by adjusting the opacity on this bar here, and then you have the size of the brush also being the top bar. So Control Z, 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 Control Z or Z. We're going to go back to where we were. Okay, and yeah, let's go back. What else we can do, okay, is we can use the brush to paint. We can also use the eraser tool to erase, and this works the same way, okay? The eraser, you can use the same thing. So the size bar works, the opacity bar works, and we're going to keep it to 100% for the opacity. And also, if you go up to the top here, up to the top of the screen, you have a soft edge thing. Can you see this soft edge? Right now it's set to soft edge. It's a very soft eraser. Can you see how soft that is? And if I adjust the bar, the opacity, it'll make it even soft. It'll make it even like it's a gradual kind of erasing we're doing. But you know, Control Z to erase. We also have these arrows up the top left corner here. Can you see here, top left, where we can press like this, forward and back, left or right, to undo or redo steps, the same as you would do by going to edit and undo, or then redo, or using the shortcuts. Now going back, following this eraser here, we're going to go to 100% opacity, a fairly large size, and we're going to go over to here and go to the soft edge up the top here, soft edge here, and we're going to untick that box, and you'll see it gives you a sharp erase now when you left click and hold, the same as you do when you draw with a pen, and it does that, okay? And you can erase, okay? Now when you're painting a sky, it's going to take a long time to cover a large surface, or a large surface that you want everything to be a certain color. It's going to take quite a while, okay? So what's a quicker way? A quicker way is to simply fill the whole space with blue. So let's go down and click on this bucket tool. If you go right down here, go down, 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 and you'll see that there is actually a thing that looks like a paint bucket. Click on that one, okay? It's the fill tool, and when you click over here, it will fill everything with that color. So if it's red, it'll fill it red. Now, if I've got if I go to black and I choose the pen tool, and I have a small pen and I draw a shape, and then if I go back down to the bucket tool, and let's say I choose another color like yellow, I can click in the middle here, see, and it will only fill that area, but I don't have to just paint it in like this. I can just go to the bucket and just do that, or click on the outside and any color you wish, okay? Okay, now we're going to undo that by holding Control and pressing Z on the keyboard. We're going to choose a nice light blue color, and we're going to click that, fill it all blue, okay? We can add some white clouds in here by moving over to the white, and then choosing the pen, do a few clouds maybe in the sky, just roughly do some in, paint them in. Now we're going to turn on the visibility of our upper layers, the sun, which is in front of that, and then we're going to click on the other layer, which is the house, make that visible by clicking the point, and there we are. Okay, so now we've got that. Now the colours don't look pretty good, you know. We don't really want this house to be so dark and just a black silhouette shape. It's bright daytime, and why is the sun absolutely red? Maybe it should be yellow, right? But I'm just showing you some of the features here. Now, those are a few things there, okay? I want to also mention one more thing. Let's delete our layers. We'll create a new layer and delete. We'll start from scratch for one moment, and I'll show you something. If I choose a white, I usually try to choose like a light grey or almost white. It's easier on the eyes, I feel. Go to the paint bucket and fill the whole layer. This is what I usually like to do sometimes when I'm starting a sketch. Remembering, don't draw directly on your background. It's always better to create another layer. So creating another layer to make sure your objects are separated on the right layers. Don't draw a house onto your background. For example, don't have the sky or mountains and then draw a house and trees on the same layer, because if you want to move your house or resize the house, you're going to have a problem, because you're going to destroy the whole background too when you manipulate it. Whereas if you draw certain objects and edit them on different layers, then you're going to be working very efficiently and better. It's going to save you a lot of time and hard work. Now let's remember to go to the colors here. Now go to the color thing and select black. Choose the pen, fairly thin one, let's say. And I've been using my mouse so far to show you this artwork, to show you these steps. But you know, usually I use a, like, you can call it a Wacom or an art tablet. I call it an art pad. It's like a little pad that I plug into my computer with a pen, and I draw with the pen. You don't have to get the best one. You can get a fairly good priced one that just works well enough for you. Now I want to mention something, okay? I just showed you that if I use the pen or brush tool up here, but we've got a pen head selected. If I draw a shape, let's say, and then I want to color it in a color, and we choose another color, go down to the bucket, and then let's say, okay, let's say I want to color it. I can just color like that, right? Okay. But sometimes you're going to have issues. Okay, for example, like let me have a look here, and I'll find what I want to say to you. Sometimes you have issues where the colors don't seem to work the right way. Well, I don't want to cover it right now. What I want to basically say to you is, yeah, this is what I want to say. Okay, this is exactly what I want to say. Okay, so I just went to edit and redo, or the arrow here, clicking on the arrow back or forth. Okay, to go through the steps. Let's say I have a basic shape. Okay, let's say I have a shape here. Okay. Now, if I'm on another layer on top of this, and I click, you see what happens? It colors around that, or in. Please excuse me, I had trouble with my camera there. But what I'm basically saying, okay, is when I click here, we're on another layer now. And you may not want to do that. You may want to color the whole thing, whether it's a lower layer or a above layer. Let's go down, okay? Let's say we're going to color this sky blue, okay? So we have an orange thing here, and I want to have a blue sky. If I click blue, watch what happens. It goes around, okay? But if I turn the visibility off for this layer, this orange or whatever it is, if I turn the visibility off for a moment, you'll see that it didn't fill in the space behind it. So you can regard that as a fault or a glitch in the software. I don't know, it's just the way it is, okay? So basically, if you wanted to fill the whole sky blue, okay, then what you would do is basically, excuse me, you should turn off the visibility of the above layers first. So the visibility being this here, okay? Okay, basically, okay, so let's say our orange or sunshine is on the top layer, okay? Turn off, now click the point here on that layer over here by the layers, the point, the visibility, turn it off for a moment, then go down to the below layer, choose blue, and with the paint bucket selected here, or the pen, depending on what you're doing, but we're using the paint bucket, I'm going to click here, and it covers everything blue. Now we're going to click the visibility back on, because we can see that it's covered everything. On my mouse, I'm using the scroll wheel, the middle button with a wheel that, you know, to zoom in and out here. Okay, you can actually zoom in and out also with the navigation thing here by clicking in and out like so. But you can also find these all of the different tools and features by looking up here and just experimenting yourself. And it takes a bit of practice, but you'll get there in the end. Now, remembering to turn your visibility on and off for different layers, okay, to make sure you get the best effect, okay. Now, something else I want to show you, okay, we already talked about earlier with the pen, okay, with the pen, the brush tool up here. I already showed you that you can work with the size, okay, like the size of a brush, like this, or very large, you know, or very thin. I've already explained this to you. And I also explained to you, no matter what color you use, you can also change the opacity, meaning like 100% visibility, where all of this stuff's on the same layer here, apart from the sky, by the way. So that's like, it's full, okay. Now if you go lower on the bottom bar, this one, the bottom bar, the opacity, the viewability, the transparency, basically, you can see through more, you see, and you can do different levels of that and paint on top as though you were painting or shading with real materials, okay, real art tools. Now this is one thing you can do, okay, but I'm going to show you something else, okay. No matter what you have in your scene, okay, so let's say just our orange thing, this is at full opacity, but what I want to show you is you can also, okay, you don't have to erase things either. You can, you know, you can actually adjust the visibility, the transparency, which is basically the opacity, the visibility level of the, you know, of the actual layer itself. So I'm on my layers here, okay, they're both on visible, okay, we've got them on visible, so we can see both layers. And we also have a thing here called blending modes, but I'm not going to show you those today in this video. But what I'm going to show you is, if you go here to the opacity, we have an opacity for the layers also, not only the pen. So if I hold this and I turn it down, you see what happens? Okay, so let me show you that again. Okay, let's go to our bottom layer, and I won't add another layer. I'll just draw something. Okay, I'll just draw a little shape here. Let's just do something very. Let's just do a little palm tree or something. Okay, very quickly, and I'll show you what I mean. Now we can't see, can we? Because this thing is in the way. Okay, so I can simply turn this off, right? And let's say I want to you know, I want to do branches of a tree, let's say, okay, and then I want to have this back on, but let's say I don't want the branches to be coming out that far. I want to have them within the shape of within the same size as this sunshine. So what do I do? So what I would do is I would go to undo, and I would go to the this sunshine layer, and I'll turn the opacity, the visibility down, so we're looking through, we can see through it to some level, some degree. And I will click back on the layer I'm working on, click back down to the layer I'm working on, continue to paint, and follow it as a guide, you see. And this could be my palm tree. It's adjusting the size of the brush there to get some leaves. It's not the best palm tree. I'm just doing this for quickness, okay, you see. Okay, and that's that. Okay, now from here we can see, and now I go back to that and I can adjust the visibility, you see, so I can go back up here. Now we can't see anything. Okay, so let's say for example then I want to, you know, put the tree in front of the sunshine. Well, we've got a problem. I'll show you what the problem is. If I click on my layer here, the tree layer, which is together with the sky, you see, if I drag this up, now we can't see the sunshine. Why? Because the tree is the same on the same layer as the sky, so I did it wrong. It should be on the same, it should be on a different layer, okay, a different layer. So what do? We basically have to undo everything the best we can, and just have no tree, start off with no tree, and we have to make another layer in between. Or let's move that to the right position and make another layer here. To make a new layer, don't forget, you go down here by the left, and you'll see where it says you can create a new layer, okay? Or this empty piece of paper, plain piece of paper here, and we have folders also, and you can duplicate, and you can also merge layers down by clicking this thing here to make them all one layer, to make things nice and tidy if you want to. And you can undo your steps by holding Control and pressing Z. If you're confused by anything I'm saying here, just watch the video back and practice by yourself too. So these features along here at the below the layers here, your layers, are pretty useful. You have create a new layer, create a folder to keep things in certain folders. For example, you may have different parts of a character's body or different parts of a building, let's say, with different colors and effects added. You can have the copy here. This is for copying, duplicating a layer. You can make 2 sunshines if I wanted to, by duplicating the layer, and then I can simply move this across like this and make 2. Okay, and basically you can do it like that. And then when if you make a mistake, you can delete your sunshine. Okay, you'll delete your, if I have 2 sunshines for example, and I'm moving that around. By the way, to move this around, don't forget you can go to select at the top and then go down to transform, which will give you that, and you can select and resize and all that stuff. Or you can go down here to this move tool, this thing here, this move tool. Can you see here the 4th one down below the pen? You have the pen, which is the brush tool, followed by the eraser, followed by, I think this is a basic pencil, which I don't, or a dot tool, but I never use that. You may, and then you have the move tool. Move tool being the 4th one down. Okay, the move tool is the 4th one down, and you can just click anywhere on that layer actually, and it will move it around. Okay, which is different when you have select and go to transform. You can't do that. That will just turn it. You need to click in the middle of the object and then move it, or click the points to resize it and stuff like that. Okay. Okay, so we're covering quite a few basics here, and I'm covering them as clearly as possible for you. Okay. Now you don't want to have 2 sunshine necessarily. Okay, so we can just simply press delete on the keyboard to get rid of it. Control and Z to bring it back, you know. Or you can go down here and click on the trash can here, the rubbish bin below these layers here, the last one on the right, and it'll just delete it. Okay. And if I want to merge these layers down to be one layer, as I say, you've got the one on the left here of the trash can. Click down and merge those together, like so. Okay. Now let's go back for 1 second and keep the sunshine separate from the sky. Okay, excuse me. What we can also do is we can do something pretty cool. Okay. We can click over here where it says Protect Alpha. Can you see that little box I've just pressed here? Okay, here, okay. On the left you have 3 here. We have lock. Clipping, I don't usually use this much. Okay, I think it's for like connecting a layer with another layer in a certain way. But I don't really use it much, so we're not going to cover clipping here. We'll leave that off. But we're going to go here to lock. Okay, clipping I will cover more in future, but let's go to lock. If I click on lock, it will not allow me to draw or paint on that layer now. It's like a safety mechanism, just in case you're afraid that you may paint on there by mistake. Okay. So you'd select lock, but I'm going to unselect lock, so now we can paint on it, on the sunshine layer, not the sky layer. Go to edit, undo, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this thing here, which is Protect Alpha. Okay, this thing here, Protect Alpha. Select this. Now what does that do? Basically it protects everything outside of the sunshine. So let's say I'm here and I want to draw onto the sunshine with a certain color, okay, and I'm drawing on the sunshine, and I go over here, you see, it's not going beyond what we have, it's not going onto the blue sky. Whereas if this was not selected, the protect alpha, which basically protects the the pixels with no art on, okay, no paint on. If you deselect protect alpha, you'll find that you can go beyond the lines, okay, beyond what you have on that particular layer in the shape. Looking like a spider cake thingy now. But anyway, okay, so there we are. By clicking protect alpha, you can simply paint just within what you've got, and this is pretty useful sometimes, especially if you want to create a rock or a chocolate. Now, what else can you do? Don't forget, you know, you've got this the size of the brush here with the bar over here on the left. Okay, controlling the bar. You can choose different kind of shades, like different colors and things, and you can have like controlling this lower bar here, which is the opacity of the pen, and you can like do different kind of shades. You see, we've still got the protect alpha selected. Okay, so I'm here and I'm just painting, repainting over, and working with different shades here. See, this is pretty cool. You can do this. Okay. And now that's just a rough little thing. I'm just showing you that for fun. You can get more detailed with that if you want to. Okay, but there we are. It looks a little bit more, you know, realistic. If this was a rock, okay, and if we had if we had a light source over here, well, it wouldn't make sense for this rock to be lit up on the left. The light should be on the other side, right? So we could simply we can't select the whole layer because I've drawn this white sun onto the same layer as our stone right now. But we can still select this stone and turn it around another way. We can choose this thing here. If we go down beyond, let's take a look at our tools very quickly. Let's have a look at our tools, okay, and then we'll turn the rock around. If I go down here, we have the pen at the top, the pen, which is the brush tool, which basically you can change everything, the color of, the size, and the opacity of the brush. We can also change the opacity of the layer on the right here with the layers. So you've got your layers on the right and your tools on the left. At least that's my setup. More tools on the top here, such as rulers and other guides. If I go down here, on the left though, we have all of our tools, and we've got the pen, and you can basically change different pen types of pen, as I say, like I've already shown you. Okay, you can change to have different types of pen, such as like this, different kinds of shapes and stuff like that, you see. Okay, things like this, you can do that, like different kind of things. Okay, so different brushes you can select and install. You don't have to have just a basic pen. Okay, you can do different kinds of things like this, you see. Okay, and you know, like that. Okay, and then you can basically go in and just, you know, choose the basic pen, and then you go down over here. The pen for the brush, you've got the eraser below that, the eraser. We've got another thing which is a dot thing, which gives you, it's like basically like a pencil, but I never use it. Okay, I just adjust the pen. Go down, you have the move tool, which moves everything within that layer, which we don't want to do now. We just want to move the rock. Okay, in a moment I'll show you. Go down below that and you have another tool which is a shape tool, which can do shapes like this. Okay, you can do shapes like squares. You can do different shapes too by going to the top here, above here, just beside the edit, just beside the undo and redo arrows at the top here. You have the, you can choose a rectangle or ellipse. You know, you can also choose polygon, which will also give you different shapes like this here. I can click different points, and then when I get to my final point, joining that shape up, and then click or double click to make a shape. See, that's the polygon tool, but we'll cover those more in future. Now from here, okay, if you go down, okay, the next one on the list is the paint bucket tool, which I've already shown you about, like colouring things in certain areas of a picture. Okay, we could colour our sunshine yellow if we wish to, which is okay because we're on that layer. Okay, so we got that. Okay, going down below that we have more tools. One particular tool is a gradient tool. I'm going to move my canvas around. Right? We can move the canvas around by clicking at the bottom of the picture here. There's a bar. You can click and hold it and move it along with the left mouse button. And another bar on the right side for up and down. Okay, and then on your mouse you can use the mouse wheel, the middle button on the mouse, to zoom in and out, and it will basically zoom in to any point you have. So if I place my mouse cursor near that sunshine and then zoom in, it's going to do that. If I move the mouse over by this area of the stone and zoom in, it's going to zoom in here. So if you're having problems and you're losing where you're going, okay, just remember to zoom far out and then place the mouse where you want to aim, and then don't move and then zoom in again. Okay. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do something. Okay. I'm going to go behind this. I'm going to click on the sky layer, and I'm going to choose. I'm going to just show you something very quickly. We have a gradient thing you can do here, a gradient with this next tool underneath the paint bucket here. Basically, below the paint bucket we have a gradient tool. Now if you look at my colors at the top here, the colors, you have the color wheel thingy, the selection where you select your color, and also you have here you have 3 boxes. Notice how I have 2 colors here. I could have pink and green. It could be anything. Okay, pink and green, and you just choose 2 colors. Now if you click on these you can switch them, like which is the primary color and which is the secondary color, like first and second colors. So I've got pink and green. If you look here now, selected. Now you can also work with the right or left mouse there to select. Also we have another box here, and if you click on that box and highlight it with the red box around it, it basically changes your brush into any brush or any pen that you use. It will change that into an eraser, meaning you don't have to use just the basic eraser shape. If you have a brush on your pen selected, for example, if you was drawing like grass and leaves, and if your pen was like selected like this, for example, like this, excuse me, we'll go on to another layer just very quickly just to show you. If I had this here, let's say if I had this, okay, you see that's an eraser now, see? So I'm painting here, but I could go over here and click on the erase, like click on this here where there's no color at the top here, can you see with the colors? Where rather than just having a color selected, if I go to the erase, this thing here, it will erase all of that. But the only problem is we're destroying our rock right here. So I'm going to go undo. I'm going to go back to the the pen again, look at the basic pen selection. And okay, the basics here. I've got my folders for pens set up in the right way. I'm going to choose black. I'm going to go down here, and we've got black and pink. Okay, 2 colors here selected in my thing. And I'm going to click on the sky layer on the right here, which I've got my setup for. Readjusting the canvas and zooming in with the and out with the scroll wheel. Going down here, I'm going to choose this thing, this gradient thing. Okay, this gradient tool, which is below the paint bucket, and I'm going to click somewhere on this canvas, and I'm going to drag a line and let go. And look what happens. It does this. Okay, and you can drag it and get some different variations. Okay, like that. Okay. You can have a different color. I could have blue. It doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be black. You can have blue and pink. It's very nice. Okay. Okay, like this. Now, from here, I'm gonna go back to my rock layer. Okay. And I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna go to the next tool below, which is a square, which is a lasso tool, it's called, and you can see it has a rectangular shape, but you can also choose different shapes, such as the ellipse, the circle, or the polygon. And anyway, if I carefully draw a line, you're going to notice here it still is kind of awkward to do, you know, because sometimes you may cut off a piece of your sunshine here, see, or another part of your image. You can also choose this next tool below it, which is basically a lasso tool. It's a freehand lasso tool, okay? Lasso tool or lasso, and you hold and you select the part you want and you draw around it, and it will basically select your whole thing. If you don't want to, if you're not happy with your selection, okay, any selections you make with this dotted line, if you don't like it, go up to select at the top of the page and then go down and click deselect, okay, if you ever have that problem. So we're going to go to back there, click Control and Z or Z to reselect the thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click go to select and go to transform. Now it's going to transform not the whole layer, but only the rock when I turn it. So we're turning it around and then clicking OK. So now it looks about right. Let's go to select and now deselect, and now we can see that the sunlight from this sun is actually shining on this side of the rock, okay? Don't forget, I can also draw some land. So let's make another layer on top of between these two layers. I can move the position, don't forget, of the layers, and I can choose a color. Let's choose the black. I'll have it like a low opacity so we can like kind of do some shading and have some fun as well, okay? Choose very low opacity and do some shading here to make it more realistic looking, okay? So I'm just shading. Let's choose a bit of a stronger opacity now and we'll make a shadow for this rock. There we go, okay? And there we are, and we can do things like that. And also you've got different things you can do, like you can let's merge everything down. Let's merge the layers down. Click on the top layer and click this fourth one on the line here at the bottom, merge down and merge down again. Now we're going to go up to the top of the page and go to filter, and there's so many effects and stuff in here, but we're just going to try two here. We're going to go down and we're going to go to the Gaussian or Gaussian blur. I can't pronounce that too well. Gaussian, whatever, Gaussian blur. I'm going to adjust this bar and it gives it a blur. Now don't make it too blurry or you'll have problems. But you can make it slightly blurry and it may look slightly more realistic. Go to OK. Be careful with things like that. Now we're going to go to filter again, and we're going to go to the first one, which says levels. If you go to different things like hue, you can change the color of the whole overall look of this whole thing, and the tones, a tone curve and things like that. But we're going to go to levels. When you click on levels, this thing will come up here, and you have various bars that you can adjust for brightness and contrast. You see? So you can do this and make it look very, very you know, more stronger and more impressive, okay? We can also go to filter and go down to hue, the second one, the hue, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the middle bar, which is the saturation, because sometimes when you adjust the contrast on the levels, the first bar, sometimes it will make the colors too strong or whatever, you know. And you can change the hue and change the color, like if you want to do that, and you can change the brightness a little too if you wish to, and then click OK when you're happy with it, okay? Now we're looking at quite a lot of tools here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down okay, I'm going to show you this magic wand tool, okay? But the magic wand tool, what it usually does, if I zoom in quickly here, we don't have a perfect shade. You can still see separation between the colors. If I have this magic wand tool selected and I click in a certain area, it will select certain parts of your picture, like the sunshine, for example. Now it has selected the sunshine, and you can see a dotted line around the sunshine. Now basically I can only paint within that area, so it's very similar to the Protect Alpha, if you remember, over here on the right, that I already showed you earlier, but it's not the same. To deselect an area, don't forget you can go to select at the top of the screen and go to deselect. But to select anything, there are different ways to select. One way is just by literally moving the whole layer and dealing with that, or just by going to select and transform. without selecting an area. But to select an area on your picture, or part of a layer on a picture, or a layer itself, or part of a layer, what you want to do is make a selected area. So the one way is by clicking the shape here on the left, this selection, which you can choose a rectangle, a circle, an ellipse, or a polygon, or you can choose the freehand lasso tool, which we did earlier to move the rock, or you can click the magic wand tool, which we're looking at now, which clicks on an area where there are certain colors applied to a certain area of pixels, basically, of a picture. Once you've got that done, you can click on your pen, but go back to your pen tool, or your brush, your paint bucket, or whatever it is to fill an area, and you can simply paint within that area, and it won't go outside of the selection. You can also go to another layer, okay, such as working on another layer. That's another difference between this kind of selecting method as opposed to using the Protect Alpha, which only works on the same layer. When you go to another layer now, we still have this selection for this particular area on the previous, because we have the sunshine on the bottom layer, but we're on another layer on top, but it maintains that. Now I can paint within that selection, the same area, and I can go to select and then go to deselect, zooming out here, and then if I click on the move tool, which is going to move the whole layer, basically, I can move this around. I can click anywhere, by the way, and hold and move that around. Clicking on Control and pressing Z a couple of times will... Okay, so clicking on Z, holding Control and clicking Z a couple of times will bring you back to where you was. But what I was going to say is, if you just want to move a certain area of, if you want to move a certain area, then you can select the area with any of these lasso tools, and then click Select, and then go to Transform, and just move that around or resize it, as I say. Okay. Click OK once you're happy with your selection, and then go to Select at the top and go to Deselect. You can also, as I say, just delete the whole layer by clicking on that trash can there. So we've got a few things going on. Okay, that's showing you that. Now if you go to the next tools below, we have a few more tools, and we're just covering the basic tools basically. So let's just basically look at some of these tools. This one is one that I don't always use, but what it basically does, it's another kind of selection where you make where you make a selection with this one here. It covers everything red, but don't worry, you can let go of the pen and then go again, draw anywhere you want, make marks, draw anything. Then once you click another tool, such as the pen, you see, or the paint brush, paint bucket, or the pen, whatever, it will show you this. It gives you a selection in the shape of whatever you painted using that selection pen tool, it's called, near the bottom, just below the magic wand tool. It's quite useful, so you can like paint within that, if you wanted to. And don't forget, once you've selected an area, you can do that on another layer too. You can change another layer, different colors, different effects. Don't forget we have a thing called blending modes here. I don't want to confuse you, but you can choose these, and we'll cover those more in future, and other tools such as rulers too. Now undoing this here, undoing everything, which I did with that selection pen tool, or pen selection tool. If I go down and go below, I'm just showing you these briefly here. We have an eraser too for that. So once I'm doing that, okay, once I've done a selection, basically, if I'm not happy with my selection, this is not a red pen, this is just showing you where you're making your selection, okay? You can click on the erase and you can erase parts of that too. So you have an erase for your selection, but I don't usually use this. Plus also the sizes and the opacity for this also work, okay? For these two specific tools here. The next one on the list is the text tool, which is pretty useful. You click on that anywhere on the screen and it will come up with a text box, and you can adjust your size of your fonts and everything, and you can basically type and add text in as so. Okay, and what it does is it adds that onto another layer. So you're moving that around and it's on another layer, and you have your text. Okay, also pretty useful. You can delete in that layer with the trash can here. You can also just press delete on the keyboard also to delete you know, whatever you've got there, like that layer for example. Now I'm going to go down here. The next one below that T for text is an arrow, an operation tool. Now this is pretty useful, but you'll find it doesn't work just straight up off the bat. You have to use it in conjunction with other tools, such as this 3D perspective tool, which we're not going to look at right now in this video. So we don't need to look at this arrow tool yet, which is the operation tool. The next one on the list is a very good tool, very useful. They both are actually. The next three tools. This is a divide tool. The divide tool, also the divide tool, which is like a little knife, it also won't work straight off of the bat. You need to use that to divide comic panels on a comic page when you're creating comic book art, where it cuts the panels into nice shapes for you. So we're not going to use that here because we're not making a comic today. Going down to the next one now. The next one is a very useful one. It's the eyedropper tool, and what that does is it selects a color off of the canvas. And what you do is basically you click somewhere, left click, and it will, like this blue sky I've clicked. If I click the yellow sunshine, it will choose yellow. If you notice at the top left here, it updates the colors that I'm selecting. If I choose pink, it will choose pink. If I choose purple, it will choose purple. So basically, once you've selected your color, you just go back to your pen tool and you just paint with the color that you've selected. You can simply go back to the eyedropper tool and click on the yellow sunshine, for example, and then go back and then do that. Okay, but we're not doing that. I want to show you another thing. Okay, here. Another shortcut which is very, very useful, and these kind of shortcuts can be very time saving because you don't always want to keep going back every time and clicking on these tools. So the shortcuts are good to know. I know a few that I work with and they seem to work well for me. If you look on your keyboard just beside the space bar or the tab key, you know, you'll have a thing called Alt, an Alt button on your keyboard. If you hold that down, when you press that and hold that, you'll notice that it changes, and it changes conveniently to the eyedropper tool. Eyedropper meaning basically it just collects the colors from the canvas. So if I hover my mouse over the yellow sunshine and I press Alt and hold it, and then I left click, it will take that, and I let go of the Alt button again, and then it will have that color selected. So for example, if I want to paint over this sunshine, if I want to change that, okay, let's say I want to change it. I want to paint blue over this and cover it, okay. So I will go over here to the sky and I will press Alt and hold it. You see how the mouse cursor changes. Left click and look at my colors over here. Now the yellow has changed to blue. Come back over here and I can let go. Once I've selected my color, I can just let go of the Alt button on my keyboard, and I can just simply paint. It will go automatically. You didn't need to change your tool. You're still having the pen selected, or the brush tool it is, but I'm using the pen for my brush, and you can just paint over that. Okay, it just paints the color you've selected. Okay, I pressed Control Z to undo that just then, by the way. If I go over here to this rock and I suddenly press Alt for a moment, left click, it selects the brown color that I've just chose. Let go of Alt, move back anywhere I want, left click and paint away with the color you've chosen. Okay, so this is a way you can do that. Zooming in and out with the mouse wheel, by the way, on my mouse, moving and adjusting with these bars, the bottom and right hand bars of this canvas here, you can move around too. So you can zoom far out and then move the mouse to which part of the picture you want to zoom into, and then zoom into that part of the picture, the sun, or moving to the purple corner here and zoom into that. Okay, these are things that I've learned along the way. Okay, now going down to the final tool on our list, it's the the hand tool, and the hand tool is very different. The hand tool will just literally move your canvas around. So if it's right over here and you can't see it and you zoom out or zoom in, whatever, you can still move this around. But it's not moving anything on the picture. It's not moving parts of the picture or layers or anything. Right now we just have one layer, and some people like to work on one layer. It's a challenge, but I like to work on multiple layers and merge them as we go and edit them. Anyway, this is the hand tool, and it's different to the move tool, like here, like this one, or by selecting anything. If you have this move tool selected, which is the fourth one down here, it will move the whole picture off which can actually damage your whole thing, and it's revealing what's behind it on the bottom layer, or in this case we don't have a bottom layer, so it's just revealing that transparency there. If you make that mistake, just hit Control and press Z a couple of times to get it back if you need to. Okay, oh, excuse me, we're done with that text. So once that's done, okay, you basically, these are the basic things we're going to look at. I won't cover too much else in this particular video, okay. There are lots of other little things here that covering what I've shown you today. I'm not going to cover a lot more on that. We'll go as we go along. I'll explain more as we go along, and we have lots more tools that you'll see that come available to you once you click on various other tools, certain tweaks you can do, and things like rulers and things like that you can use guides for. Okay. Anyway, I hope this has been very, very useful to you. Okay. I want to just say one more thing. And I think I'll just cover one more thing while we're here. There are more things I could cover in regards to the colours and how you add colours and things, but I'm just going to show you something very quickly. When you've got the pen tool selected, which is actually called the brush tool, but I'm using a pen head here. You can change the heads, as I say. You can change basically different brushes. That's what they're called, different shape. You'll see a demo here. It shows you what they look like. You see like this. I can paint like this, you see. Okay, I want to say when you do this, okay, when you have a color and a pen choice selected, like the basic pen for example, you know, well, if you go up here to the top, let's not look at these ruler things for a moment, but if you go to this thing here where it says freehand, okay, freehand, and go down, you'll see that there are different methods of drawing, such as freehand is just free. This is free, just drawing freely. If you go to another, which is like line, for example, then it's different. It will make a line. You'll click and hold and then let go, and it will create a line for you wherever you make a line. Another one is a polyline, which is you click and it just keeps making lines, and then when you double click quickly to finish, it will make the shape for you, which can be kind of useful sometimes. The next one is the polygon, which is similar, but what it'll do is it'll make a shape like this, and when you double click, it will make the shape. So there's no fill color in the middle, it's just a line. Now the next one is a rectangle, which is very straightforward, making rectangles. The next one is an ellipse, okay, an ellipse. And you can of course adjust the thin and thickness of these, and also the opacity, you know. So you can do all of that. There is a limit, I think, to the amount of times you can undo, so be careful. There is a history thing you can find up here too. But anyway, going to the last one on this list here at the top of options, you go to on the drop down menu here, you have a curve, okay. Curve is pretty useful, very, very useful actually. If I go and click and then make a line, you'll see that it bends around. It makes like a rounded shape, a rounded corner. And then when you double click, it will make that. So for example, if I want to go around this rock, if I use the free hand, it may be very hard to draw perfectly around the rock shape with my mouse or with a pen. I'm using my pen on my pad here that I like to use. So what you do is you would use the curve. You go down here and go to curve and click on a certain point and then click around it gradually and to certain extents, and you'll see that it gives you a good, better control. See, it goes around that, see? Now, another thing I want to show you here just very quickly, okay, you have this thing anti-aliasing, that's aliasing. That's for anti-aliasing is basically for like clearer pixels and things, but don't worry about it too much. I want to show you something else now, going back to the freehand, which is something I usually use most of the time. The freehand, okay, option here for the pen, and these work for the erasers also, by the way, I'm pretty sure. If you go here and you go to correction, this thing will drop down correction. This is very, very useful. let me try to draw with my pen here for a moment, and it works very good for a pen or a mouse for this actually. If I draw a perfect circle, oh, it's not very great, is it? If I try to draw around this, I'm not doing a good job, even if I'm very careful. It's pretty good, but you know, it's not great, right? If I go to correction and go down, it will give a timed delay. I'm going to go somewhere in the middle here. Let's choose 20. You can go up to like 40 something, 40. It will give a delay, like I can draw slowly, and it will draw a much more neater line. If you understand what I'm trying to say, yeah? It will give like a control. I can go right down here to 40 on my one here, and do that. You see, and it slowly controls the line to be much clearer. And that is better sometimes than just having... I usually use 0. It works faster for a lot of stuff, you know, free. But otherwise you may find yourself going back and forth, and you'll find yourself with messy lines like that, trying to get it right. And it looks like a mess. Or just broken or twisted lines, you know, and stuff. You know. You can also... you can do that, okay. I want to say you can do that. What else can you do? Yes, so those are some of the things you can do with the controller, with the having that control. Another thing I want to show you, okay, is if you have the pen selected and you're on freehand, you don't actually have to choose line. If you want to make a straight line, you can still have freehand, and if you want to make a straight line, you just press Shift on the keyboard, Shift, okay, in the point where you are, and it will make a line from that point. Just stretch it as far or whatever angle you want, and then click again. Just click once and it will make a line for you. And when you press Shift again, it will start from that end point of that line. If you don't want that, then you need to click somewhere else, and then press Shift, and then it will make a line from there, and then re-click again to make the line. Okay, so that's a few things you can actually do there. Just showing you some ways to use these things. In the next video I will cover more things. In the next video I will cover I will show you how to make a basic comic page, and I will show you how to use these rulers, and I will also show you the blending modes, and I will also show you hopefully, if I can, some effects and things you can add in. So in the next video we'll cover effects, rulers, making a basic comic page, covering our slicing divide tool here, and also especially the blending modes, okay, which is very, very useful. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this first video here on how to use Firealpaca, the basic tools. We will make more videos on all kinds of details showing you how you can create good art using this software. It's a free software. You're only limited by your imagination and your time. Thanks for watching.